Hello again, it's Mr. Pete here, formerly your YouTube shop teacher, standing here in front of the Franken mill, and I got a couple things to tell you. This machine has been sold and it will be gone very shortly, so that's why I'm doing this very temporary throwaway video. And in a way, it's connected to videos that I made several years ago, I think, or maybe months ago, regarding to the analog system of digital readout, so to speak, that was common for about 100 years before they came up with electronic methods of measurement, specifically the digital readout. As you know, on any milling machine or jig borer or whatever, if you simply have screws that are moving the table back and forth and you're using the graduated collar, it's not that accurate. It's within a thousandth. But when you're doing die work or making stamping punches and things like that, it needs to be within a tenth of a thousandth or even closer. And that type of work is not normally done on a milling machine. It's done on a jig borer, which you see right here. Not many people have even heard of that word. It's a thing of the past. This is ancient technology, but while I still have this machine, I'd like to talk just a little bit more about it. Now, I will put here in just a moment the titles of the other videos where I talked about this if you want to go back and watch that. So right now I'm flashing it on the screen. So this machine was made about 1965 or 66. It has a long history in my family and with my brother and all of that. Originally was bought by K&K Engineering in Bloomington, Illinois, by Freddie Coopersmith and his wife. That was the K&K. But it has been stripped of one of the troughs. So here is a trough along with a dial indicator on the y-axis, but there would have been one on the x-axis as well. It was no longer used, I suppose thrown away, but they are used in conjunction with these measuring rods and the micrometers. There's one missing here that came with the measuring rods to in some ways convert this machine into a jig borer, crude as it may seem. And of course it was in part of it is the dial indicators that are held in this little bomb-proof case, and the measuring rods, if I can get one out here, of course went in here, and you could stack them up to a certain dimension, and it was very accurate. Now, as I made those previous videos, I tried to research and find information on that setup because my videos were rather crude, because I have seen demonstrations on this, but it was over 50 years ago. So I don't believe I explained it very well, and I'm not going to explain it very well in this temporary video. But what this is all about, well, let me show you. I think in that video I probably said I sure would like to know more about this. So I received in the mail an email from Marcello, and I can't even read my own writing, but thank you, Marcello, for sending me this on that date. And this publication was from 1949, and I believe that I got this off of Vintage Machinery, and then I printed it out, and it's about a 30-page manual for the Pratt & Whitney jig borer. Never seen anything like this. By the way, they made this in many different sizes, but there's a tool and die maker making I guess it's a die, I'm not sure. But within this, and you can print this out if you want to study, there's probably 2 or 3 people that will do that, but they explain that system of measurement with micrometers and dial indicators. You're not going to be able to read it, but there's a set of them very similar to what I just showed you. And here's a bird's eye view of the table, and there's one of the trays or troughs, whatever we call them. And that may not mean anything to you, but looking on this, and they say fundamentally correct, precision end measures, and there's the set. They even got a little stand for it. because these are very valuable and precision. And there they are once again, and again you can read that. There's a lot more here, but on the very last page in that manual is the accessories that you could buy, including a whole cabinet for the accessories and measuring rods, inside micrometer, and measurers they call them. There's different names for that. But I was so pleased to get a hold of this that I wanted to show you in the temporary video all about that, because I needed an education on this as well. Remember, you can print that off or just view it online from Keith Rucker's wonderful site, Vintage Machinery. So I hope very much that some of you have watched this and found it of interest, because remember, there's a screw underneath here. And those screws wear, and there's brass nuts, and those wear, and there's backlash, and all kinds of other problems with the screw system of moving the table and locating the work. And when we use this system, that's totally bypassed, as is the digital readout. But this is supposedly even more accurate, at least than the average digital readout that you could afford in your home shop. But there would be better versions that would be used in industries. And of course, now that's all going to be CNC, isn't it? Also, during the, last 50 years, you could buy machinery with ball lead screws. Now, if you do not know what ball lead screws are, they're just super precision lead screws, long screws, that instead of just having the standard nut as we know it, cut with a Acme tap, there was a system of balls in there. Anyway, the nut was a series of balls. There was no backlash, and it was super accurate. You know what backlash or lost movement is. That's part of the problem, plus the wear of the machine. And when you're making dies, punching dies and things like that, it has to be accurate. It's not just going to be good enough. If you're still with me, I hope you enjoyed this little clip, and I told you maybe not exactly how it works, but how you can find out how it used to work by looking at this printout of a manual. There's probably other information available on that, but I looked through my library and I looked all over the internet months and months ago, and I couldn't find anything where I could study up on it. But finally I do, but the point is moot, because the old Franken mill here is going to be on a truck very soon. This is Mr. Pete saying so long for now. If you have time, lots of time, watch one of my other 16 or 1800 other videos. See you next time.